Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Python. Try, except, handling, raising exceptions, as well as else, and finally for exception handling. Okay, first off, with try and except, I want to explain the terminology for a bit. So try, what it does is that it tests a block of code for errors. Except is the one that handles the error that comes from try. Else will executes the code or whatever code that you put within else when there is no error, and finally executes the code regardless of what output try and except have. All right, so try tests for errors, except handles the error, else executes some code when there's no error, finally executes code regardless of whether or not there is an error. So else and finally is sort of, well, they're not opposite, right? Else needs no error, finally doesn't care. Let's move on to the next part of exception handling. So whenever I give you a demonstration before, sometimes we run into a little bit of error. And whenever that happens, Python just immediately stops everything. It does not render anything that goes past that error statement line. So once it stops, it generates an error message, which looks quite cluttered in Visual Studio Code. And it does this whenever there is an error. However, you can use except to bypass this, basically, and to give your own customized error message. So it's not like, a bunch of text that you have to decipher. And this allows you to purposefully test for different types of error, give yourself a clearer guideline into like the type of error and how it happened. And I'm going to give you a quick example of this. We have try, print, message. All right, except print something bad happened. Now, what this bad thing here is referring to is message. We have not defined message. There is no message variable. There's nothing like that. So without except, it'll give you a lot of text, basically saying message is not defined. However, you can, get past all of that clutter with except, print, something bad happened, and it's just going to give you this. All right. However, if message does exist, then this becomes null. Next up, to many exception. You are not, restricted to only one exception at a time. Try, print, message, the same thing, except name error message is not defined. Except print something bad happen. Okay, so we have two excepts this time and both are valid. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how these two will be displayed, whether or not it's only this part or both. Okay, next up, to else. If you remember, else displays something when there's no error. Okay, so once again, we have the print message, name error message is not defined, except something bad happened, and then else when nothing is wrong. Okay, so before here, let me go back to this. Right, since message is not defined, something bad happened. However, if message is defined, it's just going to print message, right? Now over here, it's going to print nothing's wrong and then the message. All right. Now to finally, if you remember, prints regardless of whatever try and except outputs. So it doesn't care if there's an error or not. The try except is done. Okay. Because of that, you can use it to say like, oh, the process is done. Whatever's happened is done, and no need to bother with anything else. Now, raising an exception. You don't need to create an error or manufacture an error to mess around with exception, right? You can generate an exception given any condition, right? So for example, I have X is good morning. If we're using, if else statement. Not type x is int. So if x is not an integer, basically, raise type error, only numbers are allowed. As simple as that. So we have try print message, right? I'm actually gonna make it message, no capitalization, except name error, print message is not defined, except print something bad happened. Okay, so we have one except over here, and this is a special except for name error. However, if you add another catch-all except, print blah 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 blah, okay, there's an error up here, and it says only one catch-all except clause allowed. So you can only have one except, right? And the rest is special. And then let's move on with else. Print nothing's wrong. And finally, print the try except is finished. And then let's create another one, right? X equals to hello. If not, type x is int. Raise type error, only numbers please. Okay, let's run this. So first over here, we have message is not defined, right? Message is not defined. Up here, it is a name error because message is not defined. It doesn't exist. And the try except is finished, right? Regardless of whether or not try and except whatever, all of these prints out. And else doesn't print because else needs to have no error. Down here, if x is not an integer, which it is not, raise type error, only numbers please. So we have this error over here, type error, only numbers please, only numbers please. Okay. Now let's define message and see what happens. Good morning. Okay. Then since message is defined already, we have good morning, so it prints out the message first, and then it prints out else. Nothing's wrong, and then finally, the try except is finished. So that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching and staying until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Learn today, better tomorrow, and tune in to my next lesson, opening a file. Thank you for watching.